The dating world is constantly changing as technology evolves and as people themselves change too. So here are some dating tips that absolutely everyone should know. Now this is brought to you by our sponsor, Condom Jungle. We're just going to go through these tips. I'm going to read them and then John, we can see what you think about them too. Now the first tip is he asks, she pays. Now, the more traditional sense of dating, it's kind of always been on the man to be the one to ask for the date and then to be the one to pay for a date. But these tips are coming from Match.com, and they say that Match.com found that 41% of women would actually offer to pick up the check on the first date. So perhaps the benefit is the guy can still ask, but the girl can pay. It's a win-win for everyone. John, what do you think about that?
I think that that's really interesting, and I hope that we get to the point where it becomes more common to like go back and forth or something like that. I think that that's a good way to do it, where like you're taking turns and stuff. But I think on a first date particularly, there's like the fact that there are 30 or 40% of women out there who are fine with it, that's fine theoretically. But dating is risky, and if you really like a person, can you take the chance that on your first date you're just like sitting and looking at the check and waiting for her? Like I don't know that I would be comfortable with that, but maybe I'm just too old-fashioned.
Yeah. Well, and I also kind of think it depends on who asked for the date. I go by two different rules typically. I think if you're in a more long-term relationship, then I usually like to kind of like take turns, like you get this one, I'll get the next one, whatever. Otherwise, I think it's kind of like whoever asked for the date should pay for the date because you were the one that initiated it. So especially if you're choosing where to go, like if the guy chooses where to go, pick something really expensive, then I think he should probably be the one to pay. Just like, I mean, if the girl were to choose too. All right, next one is all it takes is 15 minutes to decide whether or not you have any real chemistry. John, what do you think?
Sometimes even less. I think this is generally true, like, I know that people hate the idea that relationships are at least start based on physicality. But I don't think that you choose between liking a person physically and liking them intellectually. I think that a certain level of physical attraction is the foundation for which hopefully there's other stuff there to make the relationship work on. But I do know, to be fair, that there are some people that I grew to like or was friends with and genuinely did not want to pursue romantically and then changed my mind about it. So I think it can work both ways. What do you think?
I totally agree with you. I've dated people where it was like for the first few dates, I was like, they seem nice, but whatever. And then after that, suddenly like there was just some sort of spark and it was great. Same thing with like friends who you're suddenly attracted to. But then I also think sometimes these red flags start to pop up in the first few dates with somebody, and it's so easy to ignore those red flags and give somebody the benefit of the doubt. And then you end up in this relationship where those red flags that you saw from the beginning are still there years later. And so I think it's important to be aware of those on the first 15 minutes, first few dates, whatever. And if you see those red flags or you feel like you don't have chemistry, just get out before you're in like a sexless, loveless marriage or something like that.
Yeah.
Honesty is still the best policy.
No.
What do you think about that one?
Sorry, I was
lying
to you.
Did you say no?
I was lying to you. I actually think honesty is important.
But in addition to just like honesty in general in the relationship, what about honesty when you're just not that into somebody? Do you just, I mean, this is kind of, we have another video about texting this week, but do you just kind of like gradually stop texting them? Or do you say, hey, you seem great, but I'm honestly just not that interested?
Yeah, it's hard because nobody wants to be the person who shatters another person's self-esteem. So although sending mixed messages and even just sort of like trailing off can seem like a mixed message at times, it's difficult to do. I think that sometimes hurting a person's feelings is worse, so I would usually try something more subtle. If you can avoid them in a very natural way, I usually would tend towards that, even though it's not honest.
See, I think that's what a lot of people tend towards, and I mean, I've done that in the past too, but I think if it were me, and it's like, if you don't like me, just tell me that you don't like me so I don't waste my time pursuing you for the next 3 weeks when I could just be, you know, doing something else. So I would rather have somebody just kind of have the balls to be like, hey, sorry, just not really into it. And my feelings would be hurt, but it'd be like, well, like, thank you for the respect of letting me know so that I'm not like, why aren't you texting me? Or, you know, like wondering what's going on.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
All right, so the next one is don't go all the way, at least not until well after your first date.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, circumstances can matter, but I don't think that that's a bad general rule.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably a good general rule, but I think you also kind of have to play it by year with every different person. Like you kind of talked about, you could perhaps be start dating somebody that you've been friends with for the last 5 years. Then is it okay to, have sex on your first official date? Yeah, because you already know them. But if it's a blind date, if you just met them on OkCupid, yeah, probably
probably want to wait
a little while.
Yeah. No, that's a great point, especially if you've been friends for a while. It does change it. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you are going to go all the way, make sure to go visit condomjungle.com for all your condom needs. Isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly. They will deliver discreetly to your door in the U.S. or around the country. And so check out the description. You'll find a link to their site. And as always, hump responsibly.